powder bag at night, it just shot put out there. It's a little bit different with a rifle gun. With a rifle gun, you have a separate powder bag behind it. When the powder bag ignites, it pushes up against the back of this. Now, according to the laws of physics, the front of this object wants to stay at rest for a split second. As it does, the back pushes into the rest of the body of the shell, and it causes a soft ring in the middle to expand, and it catches into the rifling. As it comes out, it's spinning. Spinning is the key with the rifle gun. Just going to give you an idea. This is like firing a basketball. It's big, but it doesn't go far very accurately. This is like a football. You get a good spin on it, it goes a lot farther, a lot more accurately. This can go about a mile. This can go 3 miles. Now, 50% of Sherman's guns are of the newer rifle type. Only about 20% of the Confederates had the rifle type. But here's the thing. I have this modern weapon, technological wonder of its day. I can't see 3 miles. During the Civil War, you had to be able to see your target. Nowadays, we're used to, you push a button, and the enemy 20 miles away has fire and death rain down upon him. It's a little more personal. That's why as you tour the battlefield, look at where we have cannons, and you'll see these cannons up on the high ground. They put their cannons on top of hills to maximize what they could see. That way, I can see it, I can probably shoot at it. Well, that's what happens here. When the Confederates come up on Kennesaw Mountain, they put a battery of smoothbore cannons up on that mountain to guard the railroad. Well, the one cannoneer, he said we fired out, they hit a water tank, and they scattered water and Yankees alike and had a good laugh. Well, the problem with being able to see everybody is that when you can do that, everybody can see you. They're up there at the top of Kennesaw Mountain firing. You saw how much smoke my one gun made. Imagine a battery of Confederate guns, that's 4 cannons, firing at the top of the mountain, all that smoke. What better way of saying, come shoot at us, than to fire your own gun? So that Confederate artilleryman who was laughing earlier, later on he said, the Yankees went to work on us scientifically. They brought up a battery of the rifle gun, sat just outside of the range of the Confederates, sighted on the smoke, and according to the Confederates, shells were bursting 3 feet above their works, and they had to leave the top of Kennesaw Mountain because they couldn't shoot back, but they couldn't stay there. But now, most of the time, though, your battles aren't going to be at 1 mile, 2 miles. It's going to be at 1 mile, maybe 1.5 miles, or closer. Now, if we have to defend ourselves, if you notice with the cannoneers, none of us have pistols and none of us have swords. We don't have swords because it's stupid to bring a knife to a gunfight. We don't have pistols because they found early on in the war when they gave the cannoneers pistols, the cannoneers would use the pistol. The problem is if I'm busy shooting my pistol, I'm busy not shooting that thing. And that is your primary job. So if we have to defend ourselves, you use this right here. This little tin can called canister. This thing is packed full of small iron balls. When this is fired, the canister comes apart and all those balls fly out, turning the gun into a shotgun. It is incredibly devastating to the enemy as they march up in those battle lines. The problem with this is, as destructive as it is, it's only good out to about 200 yards. That means the enemy is close, and chances are cannoneers are dying. Incidentally, you're not given a lot of these in your limber checks. The idea being, if you're shooting this, it is time to leave. Fire a couple of these to the face of the enemy and get off the field because you don't want anything to happen, not to the cannoneers, but to the horses. Cannoneers can be replaced. Horses, especially a good artillery horse, is very difficult to come by. And if you shoot out the horses, you can't push the cannon off of the field, and then the enemy infantry, they get to capture your cannon. Well, I can't, though, I say that the horses are more important than us cannoneers, but really when it boils down to it, you cannot fire the gun without a well-trained crew. Now, the way the cannon crew works, we got to have somebody in charge. It's a military organization. ensures the safe loading and firing of the cannon. He also aims the cannon. He uses that screw at the back of the cannon to raise or lower the front. That gets his distance. Then they physically move the gun right or left to complete aiming the gun. Now, under the gunner, he has a numbered cannoneers. Each cannoneer knows his number, how to do it, and knows the job of everybody else on the crew in case there are casualties. First, at the right front, we have number one. Now, number one there, he has a stick in his hand. The top end of that stick is covered with lamb's wool. We call that a sponge. The bottom end of that stick has a rammer mallet on it. So we call that stick a sponge rammer. On the command load, what he'll do is he'll take the sponge, dip it into a water bucket that's there on the ground by the cannon, and insert it into the gun. He'll then spin it around a couple times. He does this to dampen down the sparks left over from the last time he fired. That way, when he goes to ram the powder bag, he doesn't push a bag of gunpowder on top of the spark. That would be incredibly bad. He'll ram the powder bag, then he rams the projectile. So it takes 2 rams to load this gun. Now, across from number one, we have number two. Number two loads the cannon. Now, he's going to put everything in the front of the gun. That's why this is called a muzzle loader. The muzzle's the front. That's where we put in first the gunpowder and then the projectile. Back on this side of the gun, behind number one, we have number three. Now, number three here, he has lots of jobs on the loading process, so watch him carefully. On the command load, he's going to take his left thumb. On it, he has a little leather cover called a thumb stall. On the command load, he'll stick his thumb on top of the cannon. Now, when he does this, he's doing what's called thumbing the vent. The vent is a little hole that leads down into the cannon. He covers that while number one is sponging and ramming, so no air can blow through the gun, fan a spark, and be a danger to the number one man. Once he's done thumbing the vent, he goes back to that baseball bat-looking thing you see sticking off the back. That's called a hand spotter. He's going to be the cannoneer who aims the cannon. The gunner's going to tap on the cannon, telling him which direction to move it. Number three is going to move that until the gunner raises his hands like a touchdown. And that means that the piece is sighted correctly. He goes back to where he's standing. Now, he's still not done, because now he's going to wait for the command of ready. On the command ready, number three steps in, takes a sharp pointed wire called a vent pick, sticks it down in the vent all the way to the bottom, and pokes a hole in the gunpowder bag, exposing the powder. He will then assist number four in priming the gun. Number four, he's the guy who shoots this thing. Now, contrary to popular belief, we do not use a length of fuse that goes a torch, or in Clint Eastwood's case, a cigar to fire this cannon. They learned hundreds of years prior to the Civil War, gunpowder, flame, not a good combination. Well, by the 1850s, they had developed a small device called a friction primer. Now, the friction primer itself is only a couple inches long, so we will use our friction primer here on steroids. Now, the way the friction primer works, it's packed full of finely granulated gunpowder. Then up at the top is packed with a chemical that acts like a match head. There's a little bit of beeswax that